And welcome to this week's midweek reflection. Today we're looking at the next one of the I am sayings of Jesus, and that is in John 14 verse 6. I am the way, the truth and the life. Now, in recent times, this has become probably one of the most controversial sayings that Jesus has said. How dare Jesus claim that he is the way rather than a way or a path or a option? How dare Jesus claim that he is the truth? Isn't this just arrogance? And how can we as Christians suggest that the way that Jesus says to live is the right way and the way that leads to truth and the way that leads to life? You know, a trend in our current culture is to equalise everything when it comes toward religions and faith. To think that we all basically think the same thing. And don't get me wrong, there are similarities between all the different faiths. We might have a similar moral structure. We might have similar things and similar characters that we believe in. However, there are quite significant differences. Significant differences in who we worship, in how we worship, in when we worship, in where we worship, in what we think the point of life is, in what eternal life looks like. Also, each religion has quite a different view of who God is. Some religions think God is distant and unknowable and completely other from us. When for us as Christians, we talk about how God is knowable, how he wants to know us, how he knows the numbers of hairs on our head. Actually, the differences are quite significant. Often the controversy around this verse is how we share about this truth of Jesus and how he does show us the best way to live. You know, when Jesus shared about this, he did share about him being the way, the truth and the life. But he demonstrated it through loving others, through welcoming strangers, through welcoming those who were lonely, who were outcasts, who society had given up on in many ways, through washing the feet of his disciples. This claim may be arrogant, well, by modern standards anyway, but actually Jesus wasn't arrogant, and he wasn't arrogant in the way that he showed who he was. He revealed that he was true to what he said he was. And he did that because he led a life of compassion and kindness. People didn't come to Jesus because they had necessarily won an argument, but because they were compelled by a man who lived a life that was compelling and loving and kind. And when we talk about Jesus being the way, the truth and the life, it is very true, isn't it, that the first way people will experience this is by the way that we live before the words that we say. So I encourage us today, as we think about this verse, how are we going to, in the way that we live out our days, show that Jesus is the way, the truth and the life? How are we going to love others radically, encourage others radically, include others radically, lay down our lives and serve others radically? Because that is how Jesus demonstrated this verse to us. Have a great Wednesday.